Keep this in mind. And this is after was this after Aquemini had dropped. Similarly, people believe is their best piece of work, Aquemini. Mm-hmm. They were opening up for Lauryn Hill. That's how big she was.
Yeah, she was huge. I mean, like, and this album did numbers, and it is a piece that when you listen to it and you sit with it and you allow it to sit with you, you get what she was talking about. I mean, the album, particularly as we've gotten older, because keep in mind, when this album comes out, she's only 23 years old. Mm-hmm. So she's rapping and singing about some mature things. I mean, like one song that comes into mind particularly is a song called Zion, the song about her son, her firstborn son, that in the process of making the album, many people told her to have an abortion because they felt like, hey, if you have this baby, he's going to derail your career. She had been dating Rohan Marley for a while, son of legendary Bob Marley. Okay, yeah. And Rohan played with he played at University of Miami, played football.
Yeah, he was dope.
Yeah, Rohan was nice. I want to say he might have gotten a shot. He was just small. He was a very much undersized linebacker. But he was dope. But I mean, so she was doing all of that, dealing with Wyclef. We don't really know the time period in which she stopped with Wyclef and started with a
lot of crossover.
Yeah, a lot of crossover there. But that's something that women at that time, again, 23 years old, it is material that she's talking about in a life. And then as you listen to the album, it presents in a classroom, and there's this teacher that's giving lessons, but there's also little gems that they're putting. I mean, like, it is a flawless piece of work. It's a dope way.
It was the classroom thing, and I think I believe the concept of it came from the Miseducation of Sonny Carson, the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
She just flipped it to being a woman instead of a young man. And younger folks, go check out the Miseducation of Sonny Carson. It's a pretty good movie. A lot of when you see the movie, you'll see a lot of this stuff in there. Is on a lot of particularly Ghostface.
Yeah.
Used it a lot.
Gotta take him off of here. His whole style chunk. You think you can whoop me?
What is the word for pigs? Like all them damn pigs. Shot them all dead.
Oh man, I love those kids,
she basically flipped that, and that's kind of the end of the story here, folks.
Mm-hmm.
To a certain extent, we never got any R&B, no rapping, even if seminal verses here and there. And I looked up verses. I believe her. Let me see. I'm looking here at her discography because I was trying to look at what she's been featured on. Oh, and you got to go back. She was on "I Rule the World" with Nas, which excelled her in that space with that song. So it brought her into a little street aspect as well with Nas. So Lauryn Hill, after that, she was featured rapping. Her first featured rap song. She was actually on. Let's see. Hold on. Let's see. I think it's on that Santana album.
Okay.
One I'm thinking about. I'm trying to
Supernatural.
Yeah. Do you like the way that song? Do you like the way?
Okay.
I'm trying to see what year that was.
I want to say, was that 99? I know that album.
I'm thinking it's 99.
I think it was 99. That album sold a lot.
It is 99 on Supernatural.
Okay, yeah, Supernatural sold a lot.
Now, keep in mind, folks, from that point, from 99 until Nas's feature verse, she did not rap, at least on a song.
Mm-hmm.
And that album is 2021 on King's Disease 2.
It might have been 2022.
Either way, we talking about a kid that's 23 years old.
Mm-hmm.
That was born in 99 to never have heard a Lauryn Hill new verse.
Nah. She stepped away, man. She stepped away. I think a lot was happening.
For her personally.
Yeah, a lot of stuff personally. We don't really know everything. There's a lot of speculation. I mean, Lauryn, she had Zion, and then she subsequently had like five more kids, and I think the first 4 kids were like back to back to back, like each year. So like her kids might be like 26, 25, 24, and 22, something like that. And I think the first 5 were from Rohan. The last child, I don't think it's from Rohan. I think it was from like an ex or something. But yeah, so having all of that, we didn't even talk about the Grammys. You know, this album won 6 Grammys. It was Grammys. Swept the Grammys. It was album of the year. Album of the year had never, a black artist wasn't going to win album of the year. Like you might win at the Soul Train, but you weren't going to win the best.
Jackson didn't even win album of the year
exactly
for
none of his albums.
I think he won for Thriller.
Yeah, he probably did for Thriller. You're right.
But I'm talking about for Off the Wall. But that's what made him do all this stuff for Thriller, because he lost it Off the Wall.
Makes sense. So she had that going. I mean, like again, she's a megastar. And again, this album comes out. She's 23, so she's a young mother. She's in this relationship. She's got a complicated relationship with one of her former bandmates in Wyclef Jean. And there's a lot of success here. I mean, like she literally goes from a very pretty, super dope lyrical MC in the Fugees, you know, from a rap label where she almost got dropped, to her group making this incredible album and it's selling like hotcakes. And then she comes out and she even tops her group. And now she's got all of this success and she doesn't have a normal life anymore. She's also dealing with, you know, being a mom. And that's something that, you know, I think in the 90s, we really didn't, in the early 2000s, nobody knew about postpartum depression. And I'm not saying that she suffered from that, because I don't know Lauryn Hill personally. I call her L Boogie. I don't know L Boogie personally. But I love her. Right. And I can only empathize with probably what she was going through. And we were all going through this stuff. And I can't imagine going through those type of changes, having that type of success, all of this money, and your life gets to play out in front of the world. And fortunately enough for us, she didn't have social media. But if she had,
I could see Lauryn Hill crashing out on social media.
If she had Twitter, she might have lost it.
She would have been crashing out. And
no question.
Because you could tell in her music, like she would have been crashing out.
Easy.
Like,
and so she couldn't. So she had to deal with trying to have a normal life, trying to be a mom, trying to be a partner, trying to be a celebrity, all of this money and this fame. And then, you know, there was a whole bunch of backlash about who helped with the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill and who didn't help and who got credit and who didn't get credit.
Well, we know that she didn't do all that because she can't perform it.
So, I mean, we know that now, but I mean, like,
but we didn't know that till recently.
We didn't know that then. So it's like, you know, so she chose to walk away. And of course, there's obligations that she had to her music and her fans, but she didn't see it like that. And, you know, over the years, she got into some issues with the IRS, and she had to do a bid. I think she went to jail for like a year. And so she got out of jail, and then she developed into this persona, and she went from being L Boogie, Lauryn Hill, to Ms. Hill is how she was being referred to now, as Ms. Hill. And she developed a reputation for being notoriously late to concerts. And so it's, you know, again, I'm not making excuses for it, but that's a lot to consume at 25, 26, 27 years old. You're still coming into yourself, and now you have these dependents. And we don't know what the relationship was like between her and Wyclef. We definitely don't know what the relationship was like at home with Rohan Marley. So it was a lot. And I mean, personally, I think she just broke down. And I think had she performed some music, I think that could have been a release for her, not just her, but her fans, because there were a lot of people, a lot of young women who were going through some of the same things that Lauryn Hill was going through, because you and I both know a lot of women who identified with that Miseducation of Lauryn Hill's album, and they still identified with it to this day.
Today, 100%.
And it still resonates. And I mean, like, we don't know what it's like for somebody to say, hey, D, don't have this kid because you might mess up your career. Nobody's ever going to tell us that, but they told her that. And I can't imagine somebody with a straight face saying, hey, you should get an abortion instead of, you know, this is your first child. You should get an abortion, as opposed to worrying about your career. This child is going to keep you from being successful, which was foolishness. But that's the kind of stuff that they fed because everybody wanted a piece of Lauryn Hill. And it was unfortunate because she dealt with a lot. And from the outside looking in, it didn't look like she had a lot of help dealing with it.
Yeah, and it was weird. It's weird because you look at, you know, Lauryn in this fashion of like, man, and to your point, the reason she's able to tour this album for over 24 years and no new material,
none
for 24 years, because it resonated so much with women at that time.
Yep, and that's all she's been doing is touring on this when she does tour. But then, you know, you run into the issue of, is she gonna be there on time? You know, I remember
be on time. Yeah,
I remember she had a show here, D, in Atlanta. And again, I'm a huge fan, so I love L Boogie.
You didn't got sucked in the gut.
I've loved her since the days I first laid eyes on her. I ain't gonna lie, because I thought she was beautiful and I thought she could rap her ass off, and she was better than. At the time that she was rapping, she was better than most, not most 100%. Women. She was better than most people, period. Mm-hmm. Right. So she came to Atlanta. She was performing at this park called Chastain Park, and it's an amphitheater, right? So it's outside. And Chastain has this, they have a noise ordinance. So like every show, concert, whatever the case may be, hey, you gotta 11 o'clock at the dot. It doesn't matter where the show is. At Chastain, the sound has to cut off because they have a noise, because it's in a really nice neighborhood. Sound's got to get cut off. So if you're in the middle of your show or if you at the end of your show, if somebody's late, it doesn't matter. I've seen New Edition perform there. I've seen a couple acts perform there. So it's a really nice venue. Anyway, long story short, D, I almost bought tickets. D. I was like, nah.
Pull the trigger.
I was like, nah, I'm gonna sit this one out. But my homegirl went. So Lauryn Hill is actually at the venue at 8 o'clock. She's supposed to go on at 9. She's actually at the venue at 8 o'clock.
Okay.
But she don't want to go on. She said the energy wasn't right or something. She was telling people backstage, like, and the people backstage couldn't even talk to her. Right.
Yeah. You can't even look at her. You got to call her Miss Hill.
So long story short, she's supposed to hit the stage at like 8:30, 9 o'clock. She don't hit the stage until 10:30. Because she said her energy wasn't right, the vibe wasn't right in the building. So you got the DJ out here stalling. Nobody knows that people are getting upset, people getting restless, and they're thinking that they're like, Lauryn's here. And so finally Lauryn hits the stage at about 10:30. Again, D, the mics get cut off at 11 o'clock. So guess what happened? She's performing. I think she was performing Lost Ones. And she was in the middle of the song and the mics got cut off. That was it. The house lights came up. It's like, all right. And she's up there performing. And she's looking around like, what's going? Time to go. You can't be there. You got to go. And so it was, man, people were mad. And she performed. So technically you couldn't get your money back. I was like, nah, man. I told my homegirl, I was like, you better than me. I was like, because if she was performing in my backyard, I wasn't going.
And if she performing in your backyard, it needs to be done by a certain time too, or you're going to get a ticket.
Right. So, I mean, like, and I love her. So it's been a couple of times, and from what I've heard, she's gotten better. But I've never seen her perform.
Tax issues was happening. She needed to make sure she performed.
Right.
The tax man had come.
So
she had needed that bread.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what she's doing. I know she's still touring, and there was talk about a Fugees tour.
Oh no, her and White Club been touring. They was just in Europe.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Because Praz is about to go to jail.
Right. Yeah. And then they got into it online, I know.
Yeah. He got caught up into some Fed stuff. And I don't think he's been sentenced yet, but he can't leave the country.
Right.
So, but yeah, she's still touring, but like you said, she can do the Fugees stuff. If she does anything from the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, it's not going to sound like the album.
Yep. So, believe that. Believe it's not.
So it's different, man. But I mean, like I said, I think overall it's a great thing, but it's also sad too, because like I just don't know that anybody was there to really, really help Lauryn in those transitional periods in her life, and to go from being, just the rapping homegirl on the corner to a multi-platinum $1 million star, and now you've got a relationship and you got these kids, and again we don't know what's happening between her and Rohan. We don't know if Rohan knows what's going on with Wyclef. We don't know any of those dynamics. Right? Her and Wyclef weren't cool at one point in time, and and again, she's a mom and she's got this fame and she walks away from music. And like you said, there's a generation of kids who grew up and never got a new verse from Lauryn Hill until she collaborated with Nas a couple of years ago on the King's Disease album.
Yeah, nobody. So do you think that the landscape of women's rap would have changed any if Lauryn Hill would have kept rapping? Or do you think it was inevitable that if she was gonna do anything else, it was gonna be R&B? She wasn't gonna never come back to rap for real.
Most definitely. It would have changed because she changed everything. She changed because she gave us something different. You got to remember, when you looked at Lauryn Hill, particularly early in her career, well, for most of her career,
what if DLC never got into that car accident? What if Ice Cube didn't leave NWA? What if The Game never leaves G-Unit? What if Teddy Riley never moves to Virginia? What if we got that J. Cole and Kendrick album? What if the RZA would have never had that flood? How would the hip-hop world sound today? Welcome to Hip Hop What Ifs, the podcast where we dive into the biggest what could have beens in hip-hop history. From iconic album delays to game-changing partnerships that never happened, we reimagine the culture we love and explore its alternative paths. And you are now at Hip Hop What Ifs.